Well, it's hard to say exactly how many protesters are going to be turning out today after that long and chaotic day that took place just yesterday. But no doubt many of them will be turning out once again, as they have done week after week here for nearly 2 months. I'm stood at Sun Yat-sen Memorial Park. The organisers of today's march had applied to be able to march from Cheta Garden in Central all the way over here, but that request was turned down by police over fears that some of the protesters, at least, might head on to the Beijing liaison office, which is only 2 to 3 minutes walk from here. And of course, there are big concerns that there might be a repeat of last week's scenes where some of the protesters went on and vandalized the liaison office. So this is something that Beijing will no doubt be keeping a very close eye on, and there's a very high likelihood that there'll be unrest again today.
So, Patrick, right, yesterday's protest was banned by police, and that's unusual because protests in Hong Kong are actually usually allowed, unlike mainland China where they're banned altogether. Why was yesterday's protest illegal?
Well, you do have to apply to go ahead with any protest in Hong Kong. And to be fair, there were genuine fears that there might be clashes with some of those rural mobs. There were warnings from some of the villages earlier in the week that there may be unrest if a protest goes ahead, and that the police would be held responsible if something like that were to go ahead. But the fact that the police denied the request has only added the accusations of collusion between the police and suspected triad gang members. Of course, as we know, some of the people that took part in the violence last week were suspected gang members, and arrests have taken place. And there's also been a lot of criticism towards police about whether or not some of yesterday's reaction was necessary. There was tear gas, there were rubber bullets used, and there were images of some of the protesters who had really dug their heels in and remained behind in Yuen Long being beaten with batons. At the same time, though, there has been criticism of some of the protesters as well for provoking the authorities, and there are images circulating of an incident that took place at the airport on Friday, during a day when we saw really very orderly protests take place. These images show some protesters harassing a man that had apparently shouted at them earlier on the day, and it really doesn't look good for the anti-government movement. And of course, again today, if there is sort of vandalism and chaotic scenes that happens outside the Beijing liaison office, there's going to be concerns again that Beijing may send in troops in to handle the situation, which is a genuine fear here.